Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Hurrying on now to clarify some more aspects of this policy. You want to get a recovery. You can't get any reasonable legislation through the Congress. At this Tea Party, they're a bunch of ultra-reactionary, proto-fascist fanatics. They've got to be defeated. But for now, they're going to block any legislation. So you can't get any decent legislation through the Congress. So what do? The Congress is not necessarily, it's not the federal budget you want to use. You say, we've had enough federal borrowing. We've had enough federal spending. We want to have federal lending. The U.S. government, properly organized, is the most powerful institution in the world. That includes the most powerful bank in the world. So enough with federal borrowing, enough with federal spending. Let's have federal lending, credit creation for infrastructure and job creation. And another slogan, lean on Ben. Force helicopter Ben Bernanke to do this. He could simply decide to do it. He's independent. He's an independent agency, and people don't tell him what to do. Obama could call him up and say, look, in the light of this situation, I'm declaring a state of national emergency, and as part of that, I am not directing you. I'm the President of the United States. I know you think you're an independent agency. Don't try it. Don't push it. I'm telling you, we want $1 trillion of rediscount guarantee. You, Ben, are going to buy state bonds at 0% interest. The states are going to issue. It's really the state highway departments that are going to do this. The state highway departments and the Port Authority and similar multi-state entities are going to issue bonds. The bonds will have a 0% coupon. They will have a 50-year maturity. If you don't like 50 years, you can make it 100 years. You can pay back 1% per year. It'll be amortized at the rate of 1% a year. So you'll pay over 100 years, you'll pay this back. 0% coupon, 50 to 100-year maturity. You're going to buy them, Ben, and you're going to buy $1 trillion worth. And that is going to be our first step towards economic recovery. I would say, as a rule of thumb, for every trillion of credit created in this manner, you'd be creating 1 million jobs. What's a trillion? Well, a trillion is a million. So $1 million per job. Suppose it's $900,000 plus of capital investment, $930,000 of capital investment, whatever it is, and the rest for wages and benefits. Let's say $900,000 for capital investment and $100,000 per job for wages and benefits. You've got to have high capital investment per job because these are infrastructure jobs. You can't have cheapo jobs with zero capital investment. That's essentially a peasant with a hoe. No, this has got to be high levels of capital investment. And you tell Bernanke, this is what we expect you to do. Now, Bernanke, of course, is going to say, no. So how do I get that through my board? Well, Ben, let's see what you just did. Now, the Fed has monetary policy. We know what this is. They manipulate the money supply and interest rates. They have their open market committee that buys and sells federal securities. They have a discount rate. They have a reserve requirement. They can tell banks how much they have to hold. They try to keep the federal funds, the overnight lending among member banks at a certain level. They have used a lot of money in this area, but they've also got the discount window where banks can borrow directly from the Federal Reserve. Some of this lending could be done through the discount window. But in particular, if we look at what the Fed has done since 2008, we see that they have not got a leg to stand on if they try to say, no, we can't do that. The term asset facility, the TALF, the term asset-backed securities loan facility, that allows the Fed to buy asset-backed securities based on auto loans, credit card balances, and small business loans. So if you can take as collateral auto loans, credit card, and small business loans, then you can sure as hell take a bond from an American state, right, Ben? The primary dealer credit facility can take any collateral that is usually acceptable in tri-party repo system deals. Well, that can be anything. You can bend that as much. That's a door that's wide open in any case. How about this one? The Commercial Paper Funding Facility, created in 2008. Once again, Commercial Paper Funding Facility could take unsecured commercial paper as well as asset-backed commercial paper. But if you can take unsecured commercial paper, you can sure as hell take a bond from an American state. So what needs to be coordinated, none of this requires the Congress, right? The Congress, you can just forget them, right? They're tied up. The American people are full of contempt. But unfortunately, you either need a president or you need a mass movement that knows that this is what they actually want. And this is where you people come in. If you don't have a Twitter account, get one and get on there. You want to be a factor in world history, get on Twitter. Start impacting the Weltgeist and the Zeitgeist. Get those tweets out. Lean on Ben. 0% federal lending. 0%. 50-year to 100-year maturities. Rebuild the interstate highway system. Rebuild the electricity grids. Rebuild roads, canals, water projects. Rebuild the entire infrastructure. My estimate on the infrastructure deficit of the United States is 10 to 15 trillion. So suppose we think of a revolving credit facility with successive tranches issued by the Federal Reserve to get up to 15 trillion of 0%, 50 to 100-year maturity credit. You rebuild the U.S. infrastructure, and for every trillion you spend, you get 1 million jobs. That's 15 million jobs created directly. And through the multiplier effect in this case, there's a real multiplier, not a Keynesian one. The real multiplier is that if you create those 15 million jobs in construction and infrastructure, the science and engineering behind that, you'll create easily the other 15 million you need to get to full employment. Now, this can be sold. How can it be sold? Politically, I think it has obvious benefits. You want to tell the Tea Party, look, guys, we're not asking you to vote for anything. We're finished with that. But don't you see that this is an attack on the Federal Reserve? We're attacking the independent Federal Reserve. The Fed is not independent. It's privately owned because it's controlled by bankers. This is the first step towards nationalizing the credit policy of the Federal Reserve. Look at it that way. We're going to nationalize these people. No longer will cliques of unaccountable, unelected bankers set policy in secret discussions in oak-paneled boardrooms, but it's going to be done out in the open. The president or somebody, a mass movement, anybody, a clique of senators, a group of economic interests could also do it. We could have 15 or 20 CEOs of top companies come out and say, we are the construction industry, we are engineering, we are steel, we are rubber, we are all the other things that go into this. We demand that Ben do this stuff for us. Ben, you gave $24 trillion to Wall Street as a line of credit in 2008. $3.3 trillion was actually lent to many banks, including foreign banks. We want process. We want $1 trillion of 0%, 50 to 100-year credit to rebuild that entire U.S. infrastructure and public works. The other thing we can tell to the Tea Party is we're not asking for your support because you won't give it. But just notice, we're attacking the Fed, and we're also doing it through the states. The states are going to be the ones who issue these bonds. The Fed will be buying bonds issued by the states. So the states will have the executive control over how this stuff is done. Now, you'd hope that they work with the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Department of Commerce and other things to get it done, but the states will be in command, okay? The feds will coordinate, but the states will be in command. And who gets the contracts? The private sector. Yes, indeed. The private sector gets the contracts. Davis-Bacon will apply. Union wages, dear Tea Party characters. But the private sector, with that proviso, gets to do the hiring. So this is it. Lean on Ben. Force the Federal Reserve. A president could do it if we had it. A new president could do it if we had that. A clique of congressmen could do it. A mass strike could do it. A group of CEOs of large industrial corporations could do it. But the main thing is The Fed has to make a tender offer. They say, we stand ready to buy $1 trillion of 0% bonds issued by American states, 50 to 100-year maturities, but the money must go into infrastructure, public works, highways, railroads, electrical grids, water projects. There's a $15 trillion infrastructure deficit. Get out there and start solving it. You get an economic recovery. And that's my rabbit out of the hat. That's my policy bullet. That's the arrow in the quiver. Get out there and fight for it. Get on the internet and fight for it.